I still think Kenny Pickett is potentially, number two, unless they trade him.
Yeah, I get that too. I mean, listen, we got Dallas, Detroit, right? We've talked about with backup quarterback situation, the Raiders and their situation with Aiden O'Connell hurt now, right? So there's three teams right off the bat, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, good luck, Browns. Good luck with the decision you're going to make. And Andrew Berry is determined to go forward with 4.
Yeah.
And it was just last week that Kevin Stefanski said that's not realistic. So spirited conversations.
And then Gabriel, who, through no fault of his own, commits one of my cardinal sins of quarterbacking, which is he's tiny.
This is one of the natural and foreseeable byproducts of drafting him. He comes to town with a built-in fan base. The mouth breathers, as you call them, are in tow. Not that I called them that, but you called them that.
Yeah,
they're there.
So I think that when we look at it, he's going in there, he's working hard, he's trying to improve every day. He's saying all the right things, trying to elevate his level of play. And remember, up until this past weekend, we did think there was a legitimate argument that he should have been higher on the depth chart than Dillon Gabriel because he performed better against Carolina than Dillon Gabriel had performed in the preseason game against the Eagles. It's just
concern myself with outside type of things. But I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better. And that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
So if you want to start Flacco at the very beginning of the year, so be it.
Starting to the bye.
Right, or even less than that, but so be it. The fact that whatever those training camp stats are worth, and maybe it's next to nothing, it's not nothing. And it's not 0% that they're worth. And every time we show him, he's at least in line with everybody. And so I just think
generally better.
I think there is.
The Cleveland Browns just made a decision that has the entire NFL world buzzing, and it could completely reshape their quarterback room in ways nobody saw coming. While everyone was focused on Kenny Pickett's shocking exit, something even more dramatic was happening behind the scenes. Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback many thought was untouchable, is now reportedly on the trading block. But here's the twist that's got analysts like Mike Florio and Stephen A. Smith completely divided. This isn't just about Gabriel anymore. There's a rookie quarterback who's been quietly climbing the depth chart, and his name is Shedeur Sanders. What I'm about to reveal about this quarterback controversy will show you exactly why the Browns front office is in complete chaos and how one decision could either save their season or destroy their future. Stick around because the details I've uncovered will shock you. What's happening in Cleveland right now is unprecedented in modern NFL history. You've got a front office split down the middle, coaches changing their tune overnight, and a quarterback battle that's become so intense it's tearing the organization apart from the inside. Just last week, Kevin Stefanski was saying that carrying 4 quarterbacks wasn't realistic. Today, Andrew Berry is determined to move forward with exactly that plan, and the tension between these two decision makers is palpable. But this story goes deeper than just roster management. This is about the future of a franchise that's been searching for quarterback stability for decades. We're talking about a situation where fan loyalty, physical limitations, and raw talent are all colliding in ways that could determine the Browns' trajectory for the next 5 years. I've been following this story closely, and what I've discovered about the real reasons behind these potential trades will change how you view this entire situation. We're going to break down exactly why Dillon Gabriel might be expendable, how Shedeur Sanders has positioned himself as untouchable, and what this means for every team in the NFL looking for quarterback help. The moment Kenny Pickett was traded, everything changed in Cleveland, and the ripple effects are still being felt throughout the entire NFL landscape. What most people don't realize is that Pickett's departure wasn't just about clearing roster space. It was about creating a market opportunity that the Browns are now desperately trying to capitalize on. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes that nobody's talking about. When Pickett left, it immediately created a vacuum in the backup quarterback market across the league. Teams like Dallas, Detroit, and Las Vegas suddenly found themselves in precarious positions. Dallas has been notoriously thin at the quarterback position behind Dak Prescott, and their front office has been quietly panicking about their lack of depth. Detroit, despite their success, knows they're one injury away from disaster with their current backup situation. And then there's Las Vegas, where Aiden O'Connell's recent injury has exposed just how vulnerable they are at the position. This is where Dillon Gabriel's situation becomes fascinating from a business perspective. The Browns aren't just looking to trade Gabriel because they don't believe in him. They're looking to trade him because they recognize a seller's market when they see one. Gabriel's preseason performance against the Eagles wasn't spectacular, but it was competent enough to show NFL decision-makers that he could step in and manage games if needed. That's exactly what teams like Dallas and Detroit are looking for in a backup quarterback. But here's the strategic element that makes this even more intriguing. The Browns are essentially playing chess while other teams are playing checkers. By making Gabriel available now, they're forcing teams to make decisions before the regular season starts, when desperation hasn't fully set in yet. Once the season begins and injuries start mounting, the price for any available quarterback skyrockets. The Browns are getting ahead of that curve. Mike Florio's analysis of this situation is particularly insightful because he understands the business dynamics at play. When he talks about the heated debate within the Browns organization, he's not just referring to football decisions, he's talking about asset management. Gabriel represents a valuable trade chip that could bring back draft capital or even established players at positions of need. The timing of this potential trade also reveals something crucial about how the Browns view their quarterback development. They're not just thinking about 2024, they're thinking about 2025 and beyond. If they can trade Gabriel now for future assets while simultaneously giving Shedeur Sanders more development opportunities, they're essentially getting paid to accelerate their timeline. It's a calculated risk that could pay massive dividends if Sanders develops as expected. What makes this situation even more compelling is how it reflects the modern NFL's approach to quarterback management. Teams are no longer content to simply carry 3 quarterbacks and hope for the best. They're actively managing their quarterback rooms like investment portfolios, constantly evaluating which assets to hold, which to trade, and which to develop. The Browns appear to be ahead of this curve, and Gabriel might be the first casualty of this new approach. The most fascinating aspect of this entire quarterback controversy isn't what's happening with Dillon Gabriel, it's how Shedeur Sanders has managed to make himself completely untradeable in just a few short months. This isn't just about football performance, this is about understanding the modern NFL's relationship with fan engagement, social media influence, and the business of entertainment. What Sanders has accomplished goes far beyond traditional quarterback metrics. When the Browns drafted Sanders, they didn't just get a quarterback, they inherited an entire ecosystem. His father's influence, his social media presence, and his natural charisma created what Mike Florio accurately describes as a built-in fan base. But here's what most analysts are missing. This isn't just about having fans. This is about having the right kind of fans, engaged, vocal, and financially invested fans who drive merchandise sales, ticket purchases, and television ratings. The Browns front office has clearly done the math on what trading Sanders would cost them beyond just football considerations. We're talking about potential season ticket cancellations, merchandise returns, and a social media backlash that could damage the franchise's reputation for years. In today's NFL, where fan engagement directly translates to revenue, Sanders represents something that can't be easily replaced: authentic excitement about the future. But Sanders hasn't just relied on his off-field appeal. His training camp performance has been nothing short of remarkable, and the statistics back this up. When Nick Wright talks about Sanders' dominance in almost every key area, accuracy, completion rate, poise under pressure, and decision-making, he's describing a quarterback who's not just meeting expectations but exceeding them. The consistency Wright mentions is particularly important because it shows Sanders isn't just having good days, he's having good weeks and months. What's even more impressive is how Sanders has handled the pressure that comes with his unique position. Being the son of a legendary athlete and having a massive social media following could easily become distractions, but Sanders has channeled that attention into motivation. His work ethic has impressed coaches, his leadership has resonated with teammates, and his performance has silenced critics who questioned whether he could handle the transition to professional football. Kevin Stefanski's recent comments about being committed to his development represent a significant shift in how the coaching staff views Sanders. Just weeks ago, there were questions about whether Sanders was ready for the NFL level. Now, Stefanski is publicly backing him and dismissing outside criticism. This isn't just coach speak. This is a clear indication that Sanders has earned the respect of the people who matter most in the organization. The strategic implications of Sanders' untouchable status extend beyond just the quarterback position. By making it clear that Sanders is the future, the Browns are sending a message to the entire roster about their commitment to building around young talent. This kind of organizational clarity can be incredibly valuable for team chemistry and long-term planning. Perhaps most importantly, Sanders represents something the Browns haven't had in decades: hope. Not just hope for this season, but hope for sustained success built around a quarterback who understands both the football and business sides of the modern NFL. The elephant in the room that nobody wants to directly address is Dillon Gabriel's size and how that physical limitation creates an almost insurmountable challenge in today's NFL. This isn't about being unfair to Gabriel or dismissing his talent. It's about acknowledging the harsh realities of professional football and why even the most skilled quarterbacks can struggle if they don't meet certain physical thresholds. When analysts like Nick Wright describe Gabriel's height as one of my cardinal sins of quarterbacking, they're not being dramatic, they're being realistic about what it takes to succeed at the NFL level. The modern NFL has evolved into a league where pocket presence isn't just about mobility. It's about being able to see over defensive linemen who are getting bigger, faster, and more athletic every year. Gabriel's height puts him at an immediate disadvantage that no amount of skill can completely overcome. But here's what makes Gabriel's situation particularly challenging. He's not just competing against other quarterbacks, he's competing against the NFL's historical bias toward taller quarterbacks. Front offices, coaches, and scouts have been conditioned to prefer quarterbacks who fit a certain physical profile, and Gabriel simply doesn't fit that mold. This bias isn't necessarily fair, but it's real, and it affects everything from draft position to playing time to long-term opportunities. The preseason games have provided a perfect case study in how Gabriel's height affects his performance in ways that don't always show up in statistics. Against the Eagles, Gabriel completed passes and managed the game competently, but there were several instances where his height limited his ability to see developing plays or make throws over traffic. These aren't necessarily mistakes that show up as interceptions or incomplete passes, but they're limitations that NFL coaches notice and factor into their evaluations. Mike Tannenbaum's analysis of Gabriel's situation is particularly insightful because he acknowledges both Gabriel's talent and his limitations. Tannenbaum has seen enough NFL quarterbacks to understand that talent alone isn't always enough. Physical limitations like height can create obstacles that become more pronounced as the level of competition increases. What works in college or even in preseason games might not translate to regular season success against elite NFL defenses. The comparison to Shedeur Sanders makes Gabriel's situation even more challenging. Sanders not only has the physical tools that Gabriel lacks, but he also has the intangible qualities that NFL teams covet. When you put them side by side, the differences become stark. Sanders looks like an NFL quarterback, carries himself like an NFL quarterback, and has the physical presence that commands respect in the huddle. This isn't to say that Gabriel can't have a successful NFL career. There have been shorter quarterbacks who have found ways to succeed, but they've typically had to be exceptional in other areas to overcome their physical limitations. The question for Gabriel is whether he has those exceptional qualities, and based on his preseason performance, the answer appears to be unclear. The Browns' willingness to trade Gabriel suggests they've made their evaluation. His talent is real, but his limitations are too significant to ignore when they have other options available. The most telling aspect of this entire quarterback situation isn't what's happening on the field, it's what's happening in the meeting rooms and front office conversations. Kevin Stefanski's dramatic shift in how he discusses Shedeur Sanders reveals something crucial about how NFL organizations adapt their thinking when new information becomes available. This isn't just about coaching. It's about organizational evolution and the ability to recognize when initial assessments need to be revised. Just weeks ago, Stefanski was publicly dismissive of the idea that Sanders could quickly climb the depth chart. His comments suggested a coach who was committed to a predetermined plan and wasn't interested in outside pressure to accelerate Sanders' development. But something changed, and that change is visible in every recent interview and press conference. Stefanski now speaks about Sanders with the kind of conviction that suggests he's seen something in practice that has completely altered his perspective. This kind of coaching evolution is actually more common than people realize, but it's rarely this visible or dramatic. Most coaches make these adjustments quietly, gradually shifting their approach without drawing attention to the change. Stefanski's public pivot suggests that Sanders' improvement has been so significant that it couldn't be ignored or downplayed. When a coach goes from skeptical to committed in such a short time frame, it usually means the player has exceeded every expectation. The tension between Stefanski and Andrew Berry over roster construction adds another layer to this story. Berry's determination to carry 4 quarterbacks directly contradicts Stefanski's earlier statements about roster practicality. This kind of public disagreement between a general manager and head coach is unusual and suggests that there are fundamental differences in how they view the quarterback situation. Berry appears to be thinking about asset management and future flexibility, while Stefanski is focused on immediate competitive needs. What makes this organizational dynamic particularly interesting is how it reflects the modern NFL's approach to decision-making. Gone are the days when coaches had complete control over roster decisions. Today's NFL requires collaboration between coaching staffs, front offices, and analytics departments. The Browns appear to be working through this collaborative process in real time, with different stakeholders advocating for different approaches. Stephen A. Smith's observation about Sanders climbing the ranks and building serious momentum reflects something that's visible to outside observers but might not be fully appreciated by casual fans. NFL insiders can sense when a player is gaining internal support, and Sanders appears to have reached that tipping point where coaches, teammates, and front office personnel are all beginning to see him as a legitimate option rather than just a developmental project. The timing of this organizational alignment is crucial because it's happening during a period when the Browns need clarity about their future direction. Having coaches and management on the same page about Sanders' potential makes it much easier to make difficult decisions about other quarterbacks. If everyone agrees that Sanders is the future, then trading Gabriel becomes a logical business decision rather than an emotional gamble. This kind of organizational alignment often precedes breakthrough seasons for young players, and Sanders appears to be the beneficiary of this convergence of opinion and opportunity. What we're witnessing in Cleveland is more than just a quarterback competition. It's a masterclass in modern NFL roster management and the complex factors that determine a player's value in today's league. Dillon Gabriel's potential trade isn't a reflection of his lack of talent. It's a recognition that physical limitations, market dynamics, and organizational priorities sometimes align in ways that make difficult decisions inevitable. Shedeur Sanders has positioned himself as untouchable not just through his performance, but through his understanding of how to leverage every aspect of his unique situation. His combination of talent, charisma, and built-in fan base has created a perfect storm of value that the Browns simply cannot afford to trade away. The real winner in this situation might be the NFL itself, which continues to evolve into a league where traditional evaluation methods are being supplemented by new metrics of success. Fan engagement, social media influence, and marketability are now legitimate factors in roster decisions, and Sanders represents the future of how quarterbacks will be evaluated and valued. For Dillon Gabriel, this situation represents an opportunity disguised as a setback. A trade to Dallas, Detroit, or Las Vegas could provide him with a fresh start and a chance to prove that his limitations can be overcome with the right system and support. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to a talented player is finding the right fit, and Gabriel's next destination could be exactly what his career needs. What do you think about the Browns' handling of this quarterback situation? Are they making the right call by potentially trading Gabriel to build around Sanders, or are they letting a talented quarterback slip away? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know if you think physical limitations should matter this much in today's NFL, or if teams are still too focused on outdated quarterback prototypes. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into NFL roster dynamics, make sure you're subscribed because I've got more breaking news and analysis coming your way. Which team do you think would be the best fit for Dillon Gabriel if he gets traded? Let me know your predictions.